It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. And now we started our morning off with a panel discussion about how to start dating again. Take a deep breath, get back out there. Now, we know that dating is complex and dating with kids is no different. And to elaborate more on this topic is relationship and life coach Shelley Lewin. She is also the founder of the Relationship Architect Coaching and Consulting Organization. And we want you to join in on the conversation, please. So share your dating tips for getting back in there, testing the waters again. We want you to WhatsApp your voice note to 0634088863. Shelley, welcome back.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
So much.
How are you doing?
I'm excellent, thank you. All good today.
It's so good having you, and especially today, I think everybody's waiting in bated breath, just trying to like bag as many tips as they can as they enter this very overwhelming world we call dating, right? And it can be very complicated, but what you do is kind of take the complication out of complicated, right? How exactly are you doing that?
So I'm known as the relationship architect, and I design the space between two people. So my business is in personal and professional relationship development. And I work predominantly in two spaces. So in organizations, I work as a leadership coach and do facilitation and leadership coaching. And then in my private practice, I do relationship coaching and counseling.
Ah, okay.
And essentially what I do is I am there to facilitate, to support and help people to generate, renovate and restore connection between themselves and someone else and even within themselves. So it's all around connectedness, being yourself and feeling that you can connect deeply with another person.
Authenticity.
Correct.
That's
We
the
are
word.
there for
Nice,
that. I
man.
absolutely love that. Before we get into the nuance of how you achieve that, we had a voice note come through from young Aiden. Well, I say young Aiden. I'm hoping young Aiden's young.
Young at heart.
Yeah, from Aiden right now, how they feel about the dating game.
Good morning, team. It's Aiden from Regent's Park. Tips on dating. Always know what the woman likes, and please don't bring, like, talk about your ex and all of that. That's a big no-no. Yeah, so just be yourself. Don't talk about your ex. And always know what the woman likes. Her dream dating things and all of that. If you don't know what a woman likes, then why are you dating her?
I love that one.
Truth laid bare. Okay, not talking about your ex has come up about 20 times this morning, so I'm going to take that as the first tip. Just don't talk about your ex. Try and keep the baggage out of there. Is it possible as a human species to not have baggage or to distance ourselves from that, whether it's in a workspace where we need to move forward within an organization or a structure or within that relationship space? How do you feel about managing baggage?
So I think that whenever we experience failure, we're going to have the most difficult setback is the emotional baggage that comes with. And it's the doubt that it leads into who we are, and we question ourselves, we question our value. You know, is there something wrong with me? What did I do wrong? And that is all the stuff that we need to heal and work with when you get divorced before you're ready. And even when you don't even have to be divorced, just when any significant relationship ends, you need to be healing that and recovering from those emotional wounds. So an emotional wound is like a physical wound. If you don't attend to it, it festers, it gets septic. And then you're taking that with you. And when you meet someone, if you're talking about your ex, it's because there's all those wounds and that septicemia still sitting there right close to the surface. So you really need to heal that before you go in and meet somebody else. Otherwise, you just go straight into rebound. You're actually just looking for someone else as a distraction or trying to make your ex jealous.
Yeah. I love how you bring clarity to that situation, because I think that is so, so true. We've got someone speaking about healing right now and maybe sharing their opinion on it, but I think what you've said is so vital. But let's just hear what Tembisa has to say. She sent a voice note in. Let's hear this one.
Morning, Expresso. This is Tembiso Kumalo. Any tip on getting dating again after a breakup? I would say just make sure that you have healed properly before getting yourself into a new relationship. Thank you.
Wow, speaking
Been listening.
pertinently to
He
that
was listening.
topic.
You got that voice note in very quickly, eh? He was listening. Yes, that is a difficult prospect at any phase of life, I think, coming through a breakup, and I'll take nothing away from a young breakup to
Exactly.
something happening at a more advanced stage of life. But when divorce comes into the picture, there is so much more of life intertwined into that. And I think so much of your identity, whether you're a man or a woman, is within that married context.
Correct.
How do we then move forward or ensure that we have healed through that process? Because it could be the rest of your lifelong journey trying to come to grips with why that relationship, your big relationship, didn't work. How do we move through divorce specifically so that we can open a window to a new chapter to find love again?
So what I've learned over the years is that humans have two top emotional needs. The first is a need for attachment, and the second is a need for authenticity. And when you're young, attachment always trumps authenticity. So what happens is you get involved in relationships that aren't necessarily a good fit for you. You're not necessarily compatible with a person, and you are happy to give away parts of yourself so that the relationship works. And what happens is that's not sustainable. You're always going to become and be yourself. So when you get older, you become more and more yourself, and then the relationship stops working, which is often when divorce happens. So the idea is that when you get divorced, you really want to pause, give yourself permission to go slow, figure out what was it that were my non-negotiable deal breakers? What were the reasons why it ended? Where could I not be myself? Where did I have to sacrifice who I was? Where did I have to give my power away or chose not to, which is why I got divorced, so that you can figure out who you would be a better match to, who you would align with better. So you want to figure out who am I going to align with better, so who, when combined with me, is going to be the ultimate fit, that we fit together. It's not like trying to force a square peg into a round hole. You want to figure out what are the partnering capabilities that perhaps I didn't have. Did I not know how to communicate effectively? Did I not know how to navigate conflict? You know, you want to go in there prepared and skilled, and to figure that out before you embark then on meeting new people, so that when you meet people, you'll be able to tell whether or not they're a fit when aligned with you quite quickly.
So you don't hurt them or hurt yourself
Correct.
continuously through that process.
Exactly.
And then I think that's when you start to tap in, unlock the real potential of a relationship that is so much more than the sum of the parts, when you can bring two people together who work
1
effectively.
+ 1 = 3 versus a half and a half = 1.
In my case, it equaled 2. Two extra kids came along, but I'm happy for that. That was an added bonus. We are not going anywhere. We're going to continue this discussion in just a moment.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back, your Feel Good Breakfast Show. And what a show it's been already, giving you every little bit of information when it comes to getting back into that overwhelming game of dating. So we are back. We're joined by relationship and life coach, it's Shelley Lewin, and she's delving deeper into our panel discussion topic we had earlier this morning, and we're talking more about how to start dating when you are divorced and maybe even you have kids too. Now, dating after divorce with kids can often be a challenging and confusing time for most. So join in on this conversation right now and share your tips from dating again, and that's the WhatsApp number that you can use. It's 063-408-8863. Shelley, I was loving the conversation we had earlier. One thing that really stood out for me is the fact that you need to look at yourself and look from within, because I think answering those questions really allows us to identify with what we want in that future relationship. But now it's going to kind of change a little bit, because especially when you mentioned that baggage that you might have from divorce, from having kids, this is a tricky road to be in, and especially when it comes to that desperation of wanting to be in a relationship, right? How do we avoid not necessarily jumping straight into that rebound when we actually know we're not ready, but we're kind of just craving that companionship? How do we avoid it and make sure that we sort ourselves out first?
Well, I think that rebound is normally that you're feeling really insecure and you're looking for someone to validate you in some way. And so those types of relationships are normally short-lived, which is fine if you know that that's the case. But I think that what tends to happen, as I mentioned earlier, this need for attachment that we have, And so what happens is the authenticity is around having an inner scorecard, which is knowing inside that I'm valid, I'm worthy, I'm lovable, I'm deserving. And then you have an outer scorecard, which is that someone else tells you you're lovable, you're worthy, you're valuable. And what happens is it's finding the balance between the two. So what can happen is that we can get very attached to other people telling us how amazing we are, you're special, you're beautiful, you're worthy. And then we find these relationships, we get almost addicted to needing external validation and external approval, because you really need and want someone else to be telling you how amazing and special you are.
Don't believe it when you say it yourself. Yeah.
Exactly. So what you need to do is to shift that scorecard where the internal scorecard is more valuable to you than what the external scorecard is. You need to know that you're valuable, worthy, lovable, and deserving, and you will choose who you will spend your time with and who is worthy and deserving of you and your children's time and love and affection.
I love that perspective.
No, completely. And I'm glad you said, and your children, because I think
Correct.
ultimately in this process, nothing matters more than them from a parent's perspective.
Absolutely. You're a package deal.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that. So Roxanne, I'm sorry, is in the thick of it right now. She has just gone through a breakup. Let's hear from her.
My name is Roxanne, and I've just been through a breakup about 3 weeks ago. I just wanted to know if there's any tips on how to get over that loss, because I've been with this person for about 10 years now.
Wow.
And the breakup was extremely tough. It's been hard to deal with. So, yeah.
So, yeah.
And all that time invested, what do you do with it?
Well, all that time hasn't been wasted because you've learned a lot about yourself. And so what I would say is that you really want to be gentle with yourself. You know, you're sore. We mentioned that like a break, your heart is broken. You really need to attend to it. You're traumatized. So you really want to be nurturing yourself, self-compassion, do things that make you feel good. Go spend time with people that nourish you. Go to places that uplift your soul. You need soul nourishment. And so the only way to get over it is to go through the pain. You can't avoid the pain. You have to go through it and come out on the other side. And you can do that with patience and compassion for yourself, and just be gentle and just take each day, one day at a time, and just do the best that you can to nourish yourself each and every day. And you'll find that the pain comes and goes in waves. And so initially, the waves are very overwhelming, and the intensity of there's massive intensity of pain. But the waves will lessen, and so you'll move from feeling like you're drowning, where the waves are crashing and you're drowning, to like a little buoyant. You know, you're like on a little lifeboat. Suddenly you're above the waves, and then you're feeling the waves, but you're above them. You don't feel like you're drowning in those waves.
It's like you're walking on water.
Yeah, you're grieving.
Absolutely. It's a grieving process.
Anonymous has just sent us through a voice note. Let's hear from them.
Hi, good morning. My daughter is presently in an abusive relationship. She's with him, then she breaks up, then she goes back to him, backwards and forwards all the time. And I keep asking her, what do you see in this particular person? And I really think it's a case of loneliness, being away from home in a different city. I'm totally lost for how I can carry on assisting her. My advice that I've given her is that she needs to speak to a professional person, because she's got strength to stay away from this person for, say, weeks at a time, and then she finds herself going back to this guy. So if you could maybe give us some direction of who to get help from. Thank you.
Well, the word attachment is screaming in my head.
Correct.
How would you approach, what advice would you give her specifically? This is obviously quite an individual case.
Yes, so I think that it's very painful for any parent to watch their child involved in a very toxic and abusive relationship, first of all. So let's just acknowledge that that's awful for anybody. And the person who's in it, I think that unfortunately it's one of those things that they need to come to that realization themselves, is that what's happening is that their need for attachment is so strong that external scorecard is so high, is the need for that someone else to tell you you're amazing, that they would be willing to put up with the abuse and the, you know, whatever horrible behavior comes with that, that's mean and cruel, that they feel invisible, that they will take that because there are moments when that person's telling them they're amazing. Okay, so they will stay there for that. And what that person will eventually, hopefully, figure out for herself is that she needs to find that inner scorecard, that actually she deserves more than that she is worth more than being treated in that way. And the mom's love and support, she would obviously encourage her to go and see someone to help her to find her own value. She's giving her power away, unfortunately, and the daughter is giving her power away, so she needs to reclaim her power, take her power back, become empowered, and to take ownership for how valuable she is as a human being, that she doesn't need to engage in those kinds of behaviors. But it's a dynamic that plays out, unfortunately, for a while until something happens where the person realizes, actually, this person's gone too far.
That's a line that you don't want to cross, and of course that abusive cycle is constantly eroding that internal scorecard through that process.
Exactly.
So I think, Mom, whoever you are, wherever you are, I think you're on the money in terms of encouraging her to speak to a professional, but we certainly empathize with where you are. I hope you can stick around for the next 3 weeks so we can fully unpack this topic, but it is dynamic, especially when moving through divorce, space, and when children are involved, so tread lightly, but look inwards, find your authentic self before you go and look for a connection with someone else.